Rob here from the Oyster House Boys, and today I'm going to do another patch run through. This one's a little bit different because I've been playing with a new toy and I wanted to do something a little bit kind of dark and grungy using the ADDAC 106, which is the latest and I believe the last of their T-Networks modules. So you will have heard just a little snippet of this during the intro, and I'll just talk you through it and then I'll just let it play through. Just a note on kind of performance, there's not really much going on, but I do use the DivKid mutes to just swap in and out certain channels. So I've got 3 channels of it set up. One, because the snare is broken into 2 channels. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just go through it. So there's a kind of a pedal bassline thing going on, which is from the Roland 512. That's got the Pittsburgh modular filter, as almost everything I do has, because I love that filter so much, being modulated by Oct. The pitch information from that is coming from the Arturia Keystep Pro, which is just one simple sequence, and it's a melodic minor thing. It's quite simple and basic, but that's where that's happening from. I have Platz, again it's info from Marbles. That's the kind of the high-pitched sound you can hear. In fact, let's see if I can, let's just mute this. So if I bring that in, hopefully you can hear that. It's that kind of bubbly sound, which is, it's kind of doop, 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 and it's got a little bit of tape delay from Disting Mark IV on it. And then I have the drums, which you heard there. Now, this is all coming from, like I say, the ADDAC Systems 106. Some point around here somewhere now, there'll be an image of that so you can see what I'm talking about. Basically, it's 4 channels of drum, and it's really hard to describe because it's not really a drum synth, but it's got these 4 voices and they're all kind of split in different ways. So we have, they're called hat and snare for 1, 2 and 3, and then we have a frequency range on number 4, which goes from high, medium and low, and then there's a little pot for frequency. Medium, I'm sure I heard somewhere someone say that was actually not for medium, it's actually for modulation. And that's the setting I use for doing a kick drum, which is what you can hear now. Let me just mute that. And then to the right you have a decay. So you have 3 controls for each: frequency, switch between hat and snare, and then the decay. And then there's a mixer section in the middle, which is basically a volume, and then an output, which mixes all 4 channels, and a little toggle switch for kind of a dirt channel and a clean channel. I'm using clean on this. There's quite a lot of grit and dirt and kind of texture in other places, so I wanted a little bit of contrast there. The dirt is kind of, it's not overly saturated. It's, if you imagine kind of a crunch versus a distortion, it's more of a crunch. Hope that makes sense. And then you have 4 toggle switches for how they actually work, and these are 3-way toggles, and they each go from mute, so you can turn them off individually if you want, although I've used mutes for doing that for certain things. And then they have how you trigger the actual sound. And I've got these all set to trigger, but they can be driven by envelopes. And then input and output for each. Okay, so that's how that works. You've heard it already, and you'll hear it again in a minute when I play the track after I've run through. What I have done is I've sent the snare, have sent it to Veils, which I'm just using as a simple mixer here, but I've also sent it to the z-dsp from Tip Top, just with a slight kind of room reverb on it. not quite kind of that gated reverb that you get in those kind of 80s synthwave pieces, but still sounds nice, and it adds just a little bit of flavour to it. I've not done anything with the sequencing for the drums other than a very simple sound, as you can hear. There's nothing fancy going on. I do use one of the channels on mutes to bring in that snare, or the extra channel of snare with the reverb. Okay, so what else is going on? We've got the kind of unearthly voices, which is what I really like about this particular patch. And that's all coming from rings and clouds, which goes into warps, which is almost fully anti-clockwise, but just a little bit of the second setting brought in there, which adds that kind of growl to it, which I really, really like. So what have we got? We've got a sequence running through rings, which is on channel 4 of the KeyStep Pro, which is also supplying clock to everything. And I'm just using gate and pitch, as you can see here, into strum and volts per octave. Both channels of this go into clouds, and clouds is pretty basic setup. You can see the settings here: position about 2, size is about, well, the sets are about 9, but this is being modulated by oct as well. Pitch is bang on 12, and then the rest is all kind of between 1 and 3, as you can see. Warps is going into the timbre setting is being modulated by oct as well, and then the output from that goes into mutes, so I can toggle that on and off. Let's see if that will work for me now. There you go, you can probably just about hear that. You hear it in the track anyway, so if that didn't come through then, that's what's going on. Okay, and then all I've got going on from there really is everything going into Veils, and then straight into Logic, which is not doing anything fancy at all. It's there purely to record. And yeah, I'll sit back and let that play through now. It's just a few minutes. I'll leave this recording what's going on here, and then I'll put the track in afterwards. So please excuse the fact that you're not going to see me flicking the switches live. It's because I already recorded it just to make sure it sounded nice, or at least sounded how I wanted it to sound, before I recorded the video. So yeah, I'll just leave this going. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please do like and subscribe, all that kind of jazz. I really appreciate all the comments you're starting to leave on the videos. It's just nice to hear from people that are at least watching the videos. So if you've got criticisms, please let me know so I can make this stuff better. And let me know what you want to see. Thanks very much. I've been Rob, and I'll see you all again very soon, I'm sure. Oh yeah, just before I go, the ADDAC. I think one way of looking at this is, and I'll do a proper video on the ADDAC at another time, because that's not really what this video is about. This is just about kind of making a grungy kind of, I don't know, it's like a disco from death, I suppose, something like that. It's all a bit grungy and kind of odd. I consider this to be kind of like a mini DFAM. So the DFAM obviously has the 8 channels. This has 4. They do a similar thing, and they make those kind of percussive sounds in a non-traditional drum kind of way, which I really like. You can get close to kind of 808 kicks and stuff from both if you're careful with it. But they do kind of industrial percussive sounds really, really well, and they sound really good. So I'll talk about that again in a future video, but for now, please enjoy. Thanks very much.